Hello, I'm Chai Vasarhelyi, Director of The Rescue.
Breaking news right now out of Thailand.
Rescue teams are working through the night to save 12 boys and their coach trapped inside a cave.
The monsoon had come early. The conditions in the cave were impossible. There was a very strong feeling that the children couldn't be still alive.
We need expert cave divers out here.
The Thai Navy SEALs put everything they had into it, but only this group of people who do it as a weekend hobby has those skills.
I was thinking, this has actually got our name all over it.
You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. Trying to wriggle through holes that I couldn't wriggle through, finding a bigger space, sliding through, and then repeating again and again.
How many of you? 13?
We look into each other's faces thinking we may be the only ones that ever see them.
Finding the boys was the easy part. They didn't have a clue how to get those kids out.
We didn't think it was possible to dive the children out. We came up with the actual logistical plan.
I told him that's a horrible idea. And then Rick said, what if it's the only idea?
We were brutally honest. We promised multiple fatalities.
It's about controlling your emotions and your fear. Panic is death in the cave.
My mind was on overdrive. Oh my God, am I going to be good enough? If they die, it's going to tear me apart.
If you don't dive, everyone will die.
I told the guys, this is a one-way trip. Once you start, you cannot stop.
Believe. Believe.
That is a trailer from the National Geographic documentary, The Rescue. And this is Factual America. We're brought to you by Alamo Pictures, an Austin and London-based production company making documentaries about America for international audiences. I'm your host, Matthew Sherwood. Each week I watch a hit documentary and then talk with the filmmakers and their subjects. This week it is my great honor to welcome Oscar-winning filmmaker Chai Vasarhelyi to the podcast. Chai's latest masterpiece is The Rescue, which she co-directed and co-produced with her partner in film and life, Jimmy Chin. The Rescue is about the Tham Luang cave rescue in Thailand in 2018. But like all great documentaries, it is about so much more. Bravery, cave diving, the human spirit, and ultimately, generosity. The film had its theatrical release in the US on October 8th and releasing here in the UK on October 29th. Chai, welcome to Factual America. How are things with you? I imagine you're having a busy day. Is it Media Day today?
It is Media Day, but it's very nice to be here in London.
Oh, well, you're actually in London. Oh, well, welcome to the UK. It's congratulations on another amazing film. Thank you so much. And for our audience here in the UK who hasn't had a chance to see it because it releases on tomorrow, actually, October 29th, maybe you can give us a quick synopsis of what is The Rescue all about?
Well, The Rescue chronicles the 2018 rescue of the Thai soccer team and their coach that were trapped deep in a cave in northern Thailand.
Okay. And most people will know this story. It was all over the media. And what drew you to this story? Because you've won just about every award under the sun with Free Solo. I imagine you could have named your project after that. Why? What was it about this one that really drew you to it?
Well, I think if you think back to the summer of 2018, it was a dark political time in the world. And I remember being personally riveted by this story as it transpired. And maybe it was just as a parent of Asian children, but I was always struck by this idea of how so many different people from different nations, languages, volunteers, military, came together and really effected an impossible rescue, against all odds. And I think that it was that idea of connection that compelled us to make this film and why we thought it was an important story.
And as I think you've already mentioned here now, is it's so much more than just this actual event, isn't it? I mean, it's a film about cave diving, a celebration of the human spirit, bravery, doing the impossible, which I think seems to be a theme of some of your movies, and ultimately generosity. Is that all plays into this, doesn't it?
No, it's all central to the film, and that's why we made it, was that, you know, this idea of moral courage, of doing the right thing because you can, you know, being your best self, being generous. Like, that's the stuff that connects us and not divides us. And so, you know, it's kind of bittersweet that it's only become more poignant through the pandemic.
Yeah.
But, you know, it always was kind of this urgent story we wanted to tell.
Yeah. I mean, I think what struck me is just the number of everyday heroes that are in this film. I mean, we're talking about a cast of hundreds, if not thousands. And we wouldn't know these people otherwise if it hadn't been for these unfortunate situation where this boys' soccer team ended up being stranded in a cave. And I guess a lot of them found their true selves in this event too. I mean, how would you contrast that with people like Alex Honnold from Free Solo, or even your husband Jimmy Chin? I mean, are these people cut of the same cloth? Are these, you know, they're heroes, they're adventurers of a sort? But how do they? I mean, what struck you about the people that you met who were the heroes of this story?
I mean, sure. I mean, there's a lot in common between the climbing culture and the cave diving subculture. But, you know, the stakes with this rescue were so much higher than, you know, Alex made a very intentional choice to live a life and to take those risks. So I think it really is like that, again, coming down to the moral courage, like this idea of like no hesitancy to do the right thing that really always like defines these men to me. Like every time I think about it, like think about Dr. Harris, he would have lost everything. No one would ever let him practice medicine again.
Yeah.
He's a father. I don't know how I'd look at my own kids if I ended up killing a child. And they all really believed that saving one child would be a success. And that's accepting that they might kill 11.
Yeah.
So that kind of defining character is what I thought was so fascinating about this film. You know, it like really brings out the best in us.
And I mean, we're based here in the UK. I mean, we're talking about in some ways a very quintessential English or British movie in many ways. These guys, as they even describe themselves as sort of schlubby middle-aged men coming to the rescue, people that we have no knowledge of until now.
No, they're volunteers. I mean, Rick's retired fireman, John, a management consultant, and you know, meteorologist, electrician, you know, rope specialist, like an electric company. You know, like it's really, really unlikely. But again, that's kind of that thing that like these ordinary people were able to do something so extraordinary.
Yeah, and the children as well. I mean, I think what was amazing is how extraordinary they were, how they coped with this.
No, I think the children very much participated in their own rescue. Yeah. You know, they made a very counterintuitive, good decision, which is many people would have stayed close to where they got cut off.
Yeah.
But instead, they saved their lives by finding the highest ground possible and staying there. And, you know, I think, you know, I'd like to see American kids try to survive that situation. You know, I look at my own kids and I'm like, no way. But, you know, I think it's a testament to a certain stoicism that in the culture, as well as like, these are kids from northern Thailand whose parents for the most part are day laborers. They live tough lives. The cave was like the most enchanting kind of playground they had. And, you know, every year before the monsoons, you go into the cave. Like it's like the last summer. So I think that those children like played a big part in their own survival. And I think also, who's to say that like their hope and their prayers aren't responsible for why they lived? You know, and that was kind of the interesting thing for Jimmy and myself about this film, is that there is an East-West situation going on here, which is very much part of the story. And, you know, maybe, you know, Krum Bunchum, the monk, like maybe he did talk to the princess. Like it's just who knows? Like I give a lot of credence to like those belief systems.
Yeah. Well, indeed, because they are even meditating in the cave. They learn techniques to conserve their energy, because as it comes out in the film, the oxygen levels were just not sustainable. They were just a matter of days. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, and that's again this thing as you're talking about this this cast of thousands, East meets West. I mean, we had Chinese, we had the U.S. Air Force, we had these British, Australian people from all over the world who came together, and it was truly this world story in the middle of a World Cup, and the world's attention's all on this little cave in, or not so little, cave in Thailand, which is an amazing sort of feat of bringing people together.
No, I mean, that's the lasting, I don't know, moral of the story.
Yeah.
Is, it took a lot of different people and together they were able to achieve something that was totally impossible.
We surfaced in what became known as Chamber 3. We thought we'd found 4 of the football team. They were pump workers. They'd been asleep on the sandbank, missed the evacuation and got flooded into the cave, and nobody knew they were missing. We didn't know if that chamber was going to flood completely in hours or minutes. We needed to dive these 4 guys out immediately. They were terrified, but they didn't have another option. We just gave them a regulator from one of the cylinders that was still attached to us. So we have to keep them very close to us, or the regulator in their mouth is going to be pulled out and they're not going to be able to breathe. It's highly disorientating, being led basically blind underwater. It was quite brutal. They were banging their heads, we were moving them around, trying to find the right hole for them to go through. All of the pump workers reacted the same. The second they thought they were under airspace, they kind of bolted up without any thought. I described it as an underwater wrestling match. After getting the pump workers out, we didn't turn around and go back in the cave. It was too dangerous. The 4 water workers, they were underwater for only 30, 40 seconds, but they still panicked, and they were adults. Now, we were talking about a group of children. We didn't think it was possible for us to dive the children out. Even if they were alive, it can't be done.
You're listening to Factual America. Subscribe to our mailing list or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Alamo Pictures to keep up to date with new releases or upcoming shows. Check out the show notes to learn more about the program, our guests, and the team behind the production. Now back to Factual America. What were the main challenges in bringing this story to life for you?
Well, every film has its challenges. This film had many, many significant challenges. I think mainly was that there was no known footage from within the cave.
Yeah.
What would you even put on the screen? That was a fundamental problem.
Yeah.
And there was also a rights situation where one Hollywood studio acquired the life rights to the children and their families. Another Hollywood studio acquired the life rights to a few of the divers. So there was always going to be that challenge where could you include, the voices of the children or not, or, et cetera. So we decided reenactments are really were going to be, crucial. And I have to say, no one besides those 10 divers knew or saw what they did, right? The children anesthetized, the Thai Navy SEALs for the most part were after Chamber 3, but before Chamber 3. And when we went to Pinewood Studios and, the divers show up with all their real gear, and I was like, no wonder the military was skeptical of you guys. I mean, Rick's wetsuit is shredded. There's still mud on it, probably from the cave for all we know. I'm like, wow. There's duct tape on his wetsuit. But then when they actually, they're so precise and, detail oriented. So when it actually got down to it and you watched John tenderly, bind a child's hands behind their back and bind their feet together and then push their head down, suddenly the emotional weight and responsibility that these men were willing to shoulder becomes very vivid. And so as a storyteller, I needed to see that with my own eyes. And it was only in the reenactments and being in a tank with those guys that I saw it. It's even we used real Thai children who were actors, of course, but watching John and Rick interact with the real children, I understood very quickly, there's more bark than bite there. They are very, John's a dad and they're so careful and protective. And so there was a lot that we learned from the reenactments. And then the other part of it was there was a rumor that the Thai Navy SEALs had filmed within the cave. And it's actually an extraordinary story because the admiral of the Thai Navy SEALs is married to a journalist. And so the admiral's wife was the only person in the world who could probably convince someone to film inside the cave. Everyone listened, and, we tried negotiating for this footage for 2 years. And because of the rights issues, it was really important because I wanted to get as close to the children as possible. But after I got my second vaccine and finally made it to Thailand, they agreed to collaborate. And she came to New York, and we were expecting maybe an hour of footage, and it turned out to be 87 hours.
Oh my goodness.
And it was like a documentary miracle. It was kind of rescue itself. I was like, we just got rescued because every single important moment was documented. And, from Rick and John emerging in Chamber 3 to let the Thai Navy SEALs know they found the kids, all of the stuff has never been seen before. The kids having their first meal, Dr. Pak with the kids, the motivational cheer. And then, coming back to this idea of everyone working together, no one had any eyes on what happened between Chamber 3 and 1. And so in the movie, you see those 200 people hand passing a child. You finally understand, this thing was huge, and they needed hundreds of thousands of people to support these 10 divers.
Yeah. I mean, I think what is amazing that you're right. And I think it's come out, and I know in other interviews about sort of the, however you want to look at it, serendipity, the miracles, the things that have happened with this project. But I think, at some point there, I wasn't even really consciously thinking, but I was like, well, did they reenact this? Because it's so, the way you've edited it together, I was like, wow, this is amazing footage. Or did they, I couldn't tell. And it was only at the end of watching the credits that I saw reenactments, and I was like, okay. But
lucky because the critical moments were there. When Dr. Harris anesthetizing a child, that's real. The oxygen meter is real. Discovery of the children's real. So we've got really lucky that the most critical moments were there. And so the reenactments really became the tissue in between.
Okay. Hey, I know we don't have that much more time with you, unfortunately, but can I ask you, how do you, you've this is just following on from this. How do you recapture this moment? Basically, how do you keep us on the edge of our seats? Because I think I've seen somewhere else you said the difference between doc and drama is you don't know how it ends in a documentary, but actually, in this case, you do. And it would be very easy to say, oh, well, we know the kids get rescued, but then there we are. We find ourselves almost hoping and wishing and praying that how are they going to get through this? Is this something that goes back to way back when you were, an avid reader or just being a storyteller? How do you do this?
I see my job as allowing audiences to get as close to these experiences as possible, right? You want to be able to see through Rick and John's eyes. You want to understand what 40 years preceded this and prepare them for this moment. And so it's just about narrative, construction and craft. And I won't take credit by myself. We work with a wonderful editor, Bob Eisenhart, who edited Free Solo and Meru.
Yeah.
And very, very close, where he's our closest creative collaborator. And, we take a long time to make these films, a really long time, because every moment is intentional. And I think that for Jimmy and I don't know how many movies I'm going to make. I really like hanging out with my kids too. So if we're going to do it, we've got to give it our all, the same way those guys did. This is the one little thing I can do. So I'll do it my best I can. Yeah.
Well, I mean, by your standards, this was a pretty quick turnaround, I think, but it's only 3 years or so. So, I mean, before I let you go, what's next for you after the rescue?
We're working on a long-term documentary for 7 years now about Jimmy's mentors. So that's Yvonne Chenard, who founded Patagonia, Doug Tompkins, who founded the North Face and Esprit, and Christine Tompkins, who brought them to both together, because those guys were best friends, and so they met when they were 18. Wow. And it's really about the original eco warriors. These are the people who really saw it coming in terms of our planet and lived these passionate, crazy lives where they stuck up for their values and worked out.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we certainly look forward to that one. But in the meantime, I do recommend everyone do check out The Rescue. It's some of the best, most exciting cinema I've watched in a while. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming to the UK. It's great to have you here, and hopefully we can have you on again sometime.
Thank you so much.
And we took our equipment off on the other side of the passage, made our way over to them. I mean, clearly John has a son, and then I haven't got children. I've structured my life to avoid children as much as possible. But John is a cub master, so he's used to dealing with groups of children.
Say thumbs up. Say yay!
Yay! He got them to do a motivational exercise.
Everybody say yeah! Yes! Excellent. Say hello Americans.
Hello Americans.
Hello Thai Navy.
Hello Thai Navy.
Say hello Australians.
Hello Australia.
Hello Chinese.
Hello Chinese.
And thank you everybody else.
And thank you everybody.
Okay, we see you soon.
As we left, pretty much all of them came and hugged us individually.
I made them a promise that I would come back.
I am really happy.
We are happy too.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
So where you come from?
England, UK.
Oh.
As we went round the corner and kitted up, total silence between me and John, just a look into each other's faces, thinking we may be the only ones that ever see them. That was a distinct possibility. The whole journey back, all I was thinking was, what on earth are we going to do now?
So big thank you once again to Chai Vasarhelyi, the co-director and co-producer, along with Jimmy Chin, of The Rescue, on theatrical release in the US and about to be released here in the UK on October 29th. A big shout out to Sam and Joe at Inner Sound Audio in Eskrick, England, just outside of York. A big thanks to Nevena Paunovic, our podcast manager at Alamo Pictures, who ensures we continue getting such great guests like Chai onto the show. Finally, a big thanks to our listeners. As always, we love to hear from you, so please keep sending us feedback and episode ideas. Do it on YouTube, social media, or directly by email. And please remember to like us and share us with your friends and family, wherever you happen to listen or watch podcasts. This is Factual America, signing off. You've been listening to Factual America. This podcast is produced by Alamo Pictures, specializing in documentaries, television, and shorts about the USA for international audiences. Head on down to the show notes for more information about today's episode, our guests, and the team behind the podcast. Subscribe to our mailing list or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Alamo Pictures. Be the first to hear about new productions, festivals showing our films, and to connect with our team. Our homepage is alamopictures.co.uk.